Okay, we're gonna talk about something right now I've been following for a story I've been following for a long time. Probably 5 years or 4 years or something. It's about something in China that's called wealth management products. They go by a number of new other names that they call these things, like asset management plans, trust beneficiary rights, and things like that. All like very legal mumbo jumbo sounding names for these things, but it all ten amounts to the same thing. What they do is the banks in China, when the Chinese people started to make all these shoddy inferior goods for the American people, things like these glasses here I bought at dollar store, stuff like that, and they sold all this shoddy stuff to us for cheap prices, but it adds up. A dollar here, a dollar there, it adds up into millions and billions. And so they needed a place to invest their money. And in the regular banking system, they'd invest their money and they wouldn't get very much, if anything. So along came this wealth management products. Now, how these wealth management products companies run the wealth management products is they'll buy a big office space in a big building that all looks legal like and everything, and they set it up so it all looks like a bank and everything, and they'll get a bank looking name and everything, and they'll put a big sign out front that says such and such a trust and loan and all this stuff, and then they get affiliated maybe with some other banking system, but it's just an affiliation, you know and so it makes them look like they're rock solid. To the prospective person that's coming in and going to invest their money into these wealth management products, it looks like it's rock solid. And then what they do is the wealth management company, they take out and they take out this money and they start to make it look good. They start to do construction projects and stuff. And it doesn't matter what they construct, as long as they're building something, making it look like they're big shots. They get the excavators running and they got a bridge going out and they're building the bridge and they got workers there and they got the signs that link it back to their office structure and everything. So their investors will go out and they'll look at this and they'll say, wow, look at this company's really big and it's growing and blah, blah, blah. Right. And so initially what they'll do is they'll take these investors' money and they'll invest some of it in the construction projects that make it look all official and stuff. And then they'll take some other parts of the money and they will actually use it to pay back the investors' interest, right? But what they keep doing is they keep growing this thing. They keep pulling in more and more Chinese people to invest in their wealth management products, and they make it all look good and everything. And they keep paying out the first guys first with the money they're getting from the people that's coming in later. And it's an ever expanding thing. They have to keep constantly expanding the amount of people that are coming in. Are you starting to catch on? Is it starting to sound like a Ponzi scheme? Because guess what? That's what it is. And this is the world's biggest Ponzi scheme that's been going on. It's been going on for years in China. It's called the shadow banking sector or shadow banking system. Now, guess how big it is now? $7.7 trillion size shadow banking sector. And basically what they've done is they've stole $7.7 trillion worth of the Chinese people's money at this point. So now it's in jeopardy of the whole thing folding up. So it's too big to fold, though. At $7.7 trillion, it would take the entire Chinese economy down. And so at this point, the shadow banking system is too big to fold up. And so they can actually they can actually go to the government then and say, listen, you guys got to keep extending us money out so that we can keep taking in more money from these people that can invest in us. And you got to keep us looking good, because if we go down, you're going to go down too. And so now what's happened is the Chinese government's had to come in with this new big project. And this is to bring more money in to keep the shadow banking sector from going down. This new big project that they're doing is going to be called the Belt and Road Initiative. And they're going to borrow trillions more money and to build these roads off into nowhere, off into Nowheresville, up and over the mountains, and down through the passes where there's never been a road before, and there's no people there and stuff, and there's nothing but goats. And they're going to build these big roads and highways and bridges and shopping malls in the middle of nowhere just to keep this huge Ponzi scheme going that they got going over there in China right now. So now do you know what's going on? So this new thing is called the Belt and Road Initiative, and Xi Jinping, I'm not good at pronouncing his name. I'm sorry. I'm not good at pronouncing your name. Jinping's XI. I'll call him XI because that way I can't mess up. It says Xi, XI. China has taken a great leap forward this week toward global leadership. It is clear from the roll call of leaders at the Belt and Road Initiative launched from his own rhetoric, huge, great heritage of human civilization, gathering of great minds, that the President XI has no intention of restricting his Chinese dream of the old Silk Road routes between Asia and Europe. So he's going to rebuild the Silk Road, and this is going to create a tremendous amount of infrastructure, money pouring in, and new money creation and everything. And this will cover up, for a little while at least, the shadow banking sector. But the shadow banking sector is only going to grow larger. 7.7 trillion now. Probably in a year or two, it'll be 8.5 or 9 trillion. It's a Ponzi scheme, and all Ponzi schemes end the same way. So what we have is, you think we got a bad thing going over here with the United States owing $100 trillion in unfunded liabilities. You think that's bad? You ain't seen nothing yet. China's building the biggest one of all time. And anything could set this pin off on China at this point and could burst this bubble. The real estate bubble in China is unimaginary in size. China is actually in worse shape than the United States. And China is more dependent on the United States to keep their Ponzi scheme going. The whole world is a powder keg right now. And I just wanted to let you know about the Ponzi scheme that China's got going in their shadow banking sector. It's horrible. You have no idea what, if the whole thing blows, and it could blow at any time, it could, because this whole initiative they got going forward right now is just trying to hold everything together. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to hold everything together. And it's the same way with the United States. With their new infrastructure plans and everything. Trump is trying to hold everything together. The whole world is coming apart at the seams. If the price of oil goes back up again, the dollar will start to collapse, and then that collapse would spread worldwide, and China would burst in their Ponzi scheme. Shadow banking sector would all go down simultaneously with the West. So the whole thing is all rigged and geared. The money has been pulled out from under everything. I'm going to tell you what, when you go into the bank and you're walking into the bank and you see a big poster on the wall and it says, your security for now and into the future, or something like that. They'll have some, and they'll show some woman like in her 70s patting her little grandkid on the head, you know, and she'll be standing next to a big luxury car, and she'll say, and then a sign will say, your future is insured with our, your retirement is insured with our. They always put some acronym. They use some acronym like CIDCs or ASRPs or something like that. And they'll have these retirement plans. Well, guess what? This is another Western version of the same shadow banking wealth management products that the Chinese have. And what's really happened is if you go in for your retirement real early and you say, give me my money, they'll say, Mr. Jones, they'll say, are you really sure you want your money? You know, if you wait until you're 65, you'll have $500,000 with us. You'll have $500,000 and you'll be set for life if you wait until you're 65. And say the guy's 55 and he goes in and he says, no, give me my money. And they say, well, you know, you only got 150,000 with us now. And they said, and he said, no, I want my money. And they said, well, there's going to be penalties and you're going to have to pay tax on it and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. He says, well, how much am I going to get? And they say 98,000. And the guy says, is that all? Is that all? But say he's a real determined son of a gun, and they'll try to stop him. They'll stand in front of him, and they'll say, "Listen, don't take your money out, Mr. Jones. We need to really talk to you. This is the biggest, most important decision of your life. You're going to ruin everything for your retirement. You're blah blah blah." And they'll go on and on. They'll try to block him. They'll try to block him 6 ways from Sunday from taking his money out of these retirement plans. But if he's absolutely determined, in the end, they'll give him his money. Now they will. They'll give him his money. And they don't like a guy like that. And the reason why is they've still got a pool of money in there. But the big money from all of you guys that have submitted all your money, all these years and stuff, and you're hoping for that big retirement, that big paycheck when you retire of $1 million or whatever, right? Guess what? It's a hollow reed. They've already sucked all the money out of that. The only money that they got left is a little pool that they keep just to pay off the guys that come in early and want their money. They got a little pool of money to pay them. But the big money they've taken in all these years, it's hollow. It's hollow. They've hollowed it all out already. It's already gone. And you're sitting there waiting, and you're actually putting more money into it. And it's just the same thing as these wealth management products in China that the Chinese have been taking in on. All that money's been hollowed out too, and it's all gone. It's all gone. The Chinese money's all gone too. These guys, these bankers, have pilfered it all already. And you're hoping for a dream that you ain't never going to get, because they've pilfered it all. So by the time you get to retirement age, they know that the system will have already collapsed, and they will never have to pay any of this back because the system will have collapsed. And they know it. And so you're sitting there waiting for a dream that ain't going to happen, because they've already got it all already. The only guys that are going to get out of this alive and get their money are the guys that go in early and they get their money ahead of time. And so if you got money sitting in these guys, you better start thinking about, hey, you know what? I better get in there and I better secure that money somehow. There's different ways of doing that. I'm not a money manager, but there's different ways of doing that, so you don't have to pay so many penalties and stuff, and somehow securing it. Because if you don't secure it, you don't have it in your hand. You don't really have it. It's not really yours. If it exists on their computer, you can go in there and they can close up shop, and you ain't gonna get nothing. And that's what's going to happen to all these Chinese with their wealth management products. There's nothing there anymore. It's a Ponzi scheme that they're keeping going, and they're doing the same thing over here in the West. It's the same blooming thing. They're a bunch of crooks. You've been chiseled by a bunch of crooks. The bankers are crooks, and they're gonna pull all these rackets on you. You say, well, I got FDIC insurance, right? Here in Canada, it's called CDIC. It's the same thing, basically. A Federal Deposit Insurance Commission in the States, and here it's the Canadian Deposit Insurance Commission. It's the same. It's the same racket. How the racket works is they got a pool of money. The Deposit Insurance Commission's got a pool of money, but it's not near enough to cover the banking system going down. It's enough to cover maybe one major bank. That's how much money they got. And guess what else? They've got it set up now into law that the big shots get that money, first crack at the money. And you only get what's left if there's anything left after. So if it's like having insurance, and the insurers don't ever intend to pay up, which is a racket that a lot of insurance companies pull as well. They put so many stipulations in. The guy goes in to collect his life insurance, and they say, well, did you see the clauses? And the guy says, what clause? You know what I mean? It's this sort of thing. Like his wife goes in to collect his life. He can't because he's dead, right? So his wife goes in to collect his life insurance, and she said, you know, there was clauses in the insurance plan. And she says, what's that? And she says, yeah, when your husband signed the insurance plan, there's all the small print. And the guy says, what do you mean clauses? And she says, well, he had to have died in an elevator on a Friday the 13th at 2 p.m. and he had to be wearing alligator shoes. And I think she goes on and on and on. And in the end, he says, well, what does this all mean? Aren't I going to get my money? And they say no, because he didn't meet the clauses in the policy. that he never read. And the reason why he did it because he didn't have his glasses on. And if he had had his glasses, he probably still wouldn't have wanted to read it anyway, because the print was so small it was microscopic. They're pulling these rackets. They always get you over a barrel. They've always got little something to where they're not gonna let you have it. These guys, because they're crooks. So you got to get one step ahead of them. Otherwise, if you're one step behind them, and they've got it all planned out ahead, what they're going to do to you. And unless you step out of that line, in other words, it's like you're waiting in a line, right? And unless you step out of that line, they know what they're going to do to you. So when the minute you step out of that line, now you're not in their program anymore. Then they haven't got a plan for what to do to you anymore. So as long as you stay in line, you're in for it, because they've got the plan. They've got it all set up already, how they're going to take you to the cleaners. Anyway, they rile me. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you very much for listening, and like and subscribe, and bye-bye.